All right, here we are with Javier Milei, the economist. Hey, Javier, how's it going?
What's up, Pablo? It's a huge pleasure to be here with you.
I invited you to this because Axel Kisseloff's out there running his mouth, saying a bunch of things while the economy does its thing. So it's like, if Kisseloff says the real job market's bouncing back and the economy's on the up, huh? The blue dollar's pretty much nothing. And on the flip side, seems like reality's calling his bluff day in, day out, every hour. Like, take the blue dollar, for instance. It's zilch.
Well, to me, it seems like that's all part of the act. From his, I'm the boss of the economy perspective. Let's say he's a Keynesian Marxist who looks down on the market, and the market's nothing more or less than a social cooperation thing where folks show what they prefer. And if he really thought it was a whole lot of nothing, he'd go open up the market and make it free, but he can't. So, what's that tell you, right? Basically, it's the talk of the town, and truth be told, he's scared to death of nothing at all. Meaning, if he thinks it's not even significant, then open it.
On the flip side, Vanoli, head of the central bank, says, we ain't got the bucks to loosen the exchange controls.
Well, that's the story, and it's super interesting because, there's this debate about the ideal level of reserves. It's a really engaging discussion. For me, it all depends on the currency system you've got.
Okay, so forgive me. Someone was saying, there's one who can gauge it when it's a matter of trust and not just about how many reserves you've got. China's got the biggest reserve stash in the world yet today. They're in a bit of economic shakeup because of some inconsistencies China's showing.
Check it out. I'm just going to lay it out for you. It's like pretty intense stuff from an academic article a few years back. I showed you could rock a fixed exchange rate without any reserves. So people get blown away, right? And I'm like, imagine if the US had wanted a fixed exchange rate with Argentina. Thank God they didn't, because picture this. We throw 130 at the currency, boom, we'd have caused hyperinflation worldwide, man. So under what conditions could that even happen? First off, you'd need that unlimited market access, so if there's a run on your currency, you can pump in cash to take it head on. Another way to go could be, let's say you got this all year round demand, meaning folks just want to hold on to pesos no matter what. Against anything, fanatics. And then there's the third point.
It would be trust.
Exactly. And the third thing would be, let's say, if you had a fiscal policy that's flexible enough to cut spending instantly, clearly none of those three things are happening in Argentina, so it's supposed to be plastered. Everything in reserve, because nobody wants to be stuck with a peso, and then there are three technical reasons showing that Argentina's reserves just aren't enough. The first one's a business rule. It tells you that you got to have 4 months of imports in the bank, right? So for Argentina's imports, you'd need reserves of 20 billion bucks, but not the dressed up 33 billion that when you strip it down, you're left with only 11 billion. And after you pay off the bond, let's just say, you're going to feel a massive hit. That's the first point. The second one also includes the problem that if there's a sudden drop in confidence and people start pulling their money, then you should have 50 to 60 billion dollars. We definitely got there. And the other thing is if you had infinite risk aversion and wanted to always be covered, you'd clearly need 120 billion, The chances of Argentina falling into a crisis despite the best international context in history and all is roughly 40% or 30%. I'm saying it should be near zero, but if folks get spooked for some reason and start panicking against the currency, the odds of a full-blown crisis skyrockets to 98%. In a context that's besides.
I'm sorry, but now let's think about the election scenario. Whoever wins is going to enjoy a certain level of trust, and that'll vary, right? Whether it's one or the other, I think it's about the duration, the timelines, the substance of that trust, depending if we're talking about Scioli or Macri. And the question is, how do we...
I got zero faith in Scioli because it's just more of the same, and that means more stagnation, bigger fiscal deficits, We're talking more money printing, wider gaps, and everything just falling apart more, if you get what I mean.
So how do you break free from this trap?
Look, getting out of this trap is key because it's basically choking the whole economy. So if you ditch the control, you'll boost things big time. So what's the catch? The thing is, in Argentina's economy, there's like an excess of 200 billion pesos floating around. If you go popping that control off without a second thought, thinking it's going to rain dollars, well, you're just asking for trouble and it could cause a crash like the Rodrigazo. The fix I've been working on, right, is to issue a bond, okay? In dollars, but you pitch in with pesos. Yeah, and that's going to wipe out excess cash once you get rid of it. You can leave the capital controls without causing a currency run.
You could do it in a day?
Absolutely. Once you've cleared out the surplus pesos, say the day you issue that bond, I can jump into the market, no problem, and let them do whatever, because they won't have the means to move it.
Javier, the dollar at 16, what do you think could happen? From here till October 25th.
Take a look here.
Does the central bank have tools to flatten it out?
Look, I believe the central bank's position is really weak because, let's say, it's not just that. There's a trust issue, there's a huge fiscal deficit problem, and we're heading for a fiscal deficit of 400 billion pesos, which means we're looking at a monetary expansion rate of over 40%, and that's a big deal. So there's this killer quote from Milton Friedman, right? He said, inflation's always and everywhere a monetary thing. Let me break it down for you. Suppose the banana supply goes up, messes with the economy, you know? What happens to the price of bananas, huh? Does it drop? Well, if you pump more money into the system without an increase in demand, cash just loses its value compared to everything else, including the economy. You get that if this shows up, exchange rates can go through the roof or whatever. As long as they keep printing money the way they are. You know you can't stop it, right? I get why you can't stop, because they won't stop issuing more money. Either it's going to take longer or not so much, but still. But you get that it's certain. The monetarist rule's going to get you.
From now till October 25th, I'll be inviting you several times, all right? Let's keep today's chat brief, because Tuca Man has already taken up plenty of our time, but we'll dive deeper next time. And then you gotta explain to me that Milei bonus thing you mentioned, how to break free from the restrictions.
Thanks, Pablo. A real pleasure.